The question, what caused God, is a common question that people have about God, especially after hearing the Kalam Cosmological Argument, which says that everything that begins to exist has a cause, the universe began to exist, therefore the universe had a cause. This is such a common question that was first asked back in ancient Greece and is still being asked today. Theists commonly claim that God created everything, but if everything needs a cause for its existence, then doesn't God need a cause for his existence? The idea that everything else needs a cause, but that God himself doesn't need a cause, doesn't sit well with a lot of people, which makes sense because it kind of sounds like special pleading. However, if we look closely, we can see that this is not what the Kalam Cosmological Argument is saying. The Kalam Cosmological Argument is saying that everything that begins to exist has a cause, not that everything has a cause. Since, at least in the Christian faith, God is eternal and did not begin to exist, he does not need a cause. God is not the type of being who comes into existence, but is an eternal being who has always existed outside of time, space, and matter. In fact, this definition of God being timeless, spaceless, and immaterial is common amongst all theistic religions, along with him being the uncaused first cause of all things. The philosopher Aristotle, who lived a few hundred years before the start of Christianity, called God the unmoved mover. He wrote, "There is then something which is always moved with an unceasing motion, which is in motion in a circle, meaning that it's never ending. And this is plain not only in theory, but in fact. Therefore, the first heaven must be eternal. There is therefore also something which moves it, and since that which is moved and moves is intermediate, meaning that it's not a first cause, there is something which moves without being moved, being eternal, substance, and actuality, or a first cause." Aristotle knew that everything that is in motion was caused to move by something else. He also knew that this series of moving and moved objects could not be infinitely long, so he concluded that there must be a first cause to all motion, which is God. Some people may think that we are making a special exception for God when we say that he doesn't need a cause. However, it turns out that if everything needs a cause, then we run into the problem of an infinite regress when we say that everything, not just everything that begins to exist, needs a cause. We know this is impossible because we have arrived at the present moment, which right now is me making this video. This decision was caused by my enjoyment of apologetics, which was caused by my existence, which was caused by my parents' existence, which was caused by my grandparents' existence, which can go on for a while, but it can't go on infinitely, because if it did, we wouldn't have been able to endure that infinite amount of time in the past to arrive at this present moment of me making this video. However, we are at this present moment, which means that the universe could not have existed for infinity, so there couldn't have been an infinite amount of causes in the past leading up to this present cause of me making this video. Think of it as if someone told you that they finished counting to infinity. You would know that could not have happened, because no matter what number they actually got to, no matter how large that number may be, there would always be more numbers for them to count to. The same is true with time and causes. This present cause has not yet existed until now, so we know that there could not have been an infinite number of causes in the past. This means we do need a first cause to start off this finite number of causes, ending in me making this video. Related to this question of what caused God, there is a helpful distinction that 18th century philosopher Leibniz made between things that exist necessarily and things that exist contingently. This is commonly called the argument from contingency for God's existence in philosophy. In his work, Discourse on Metaphysics and Other Essays, in the chapter titled On the Ultimate Origin of Things, Leibniz says, "But existing things cannot derive from anything but existing things. So it is necessary that eternal truths have their existence in a certain absolute or metaphysically necessary subject, that is, in God, through whom those things, which would otherwise be imaginary, are realized." He also goes on to say, "And so, the ultimate reason for the reality of both essences and existences lie in one thing, which must of necessity be greater than the world, higher than the world, and must have existed before the world, since through it not only existing things which make up the world, but also possibilities have their reality." In this chapter, Leibniz claims that there are two types of existing things: things that exist necessarily by their own nature, and things that exist contingently and are caused to exist by something else. Leibniz is saying that a contingent universe, which had a beginning and therefore must have had a cause for its beginning, must have been caused by a metaphysically necessary or non-contingent being, which is greater than the world, higher than the world, and existed before the world. Both Aristotle and Leibniz agree that there must have been something that existed as a first cause for all other things that exist. Just like Aristotle and Leibniz, the Kalam Cosmological Argument says that this necessary first being is God, who did not begin to exist but is eternal. And it just so happens that these philosophical arguments for God being the first cause and first mover of all things are consistent with what the Bible says about God, as an eternal creator and first cause of all things, and a being that is spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe for more videos that share God's love through apologetics. And remember, Jesus loves you.